intellectual property theft is by far one of the biggest problems we have on planet Earth. It's already projected by the year 2025 that the property theft, cyber theft, as we go through and talk about it, the intellectual property theft, especially digitally, will exceed all of the revenue of all illegal drugs sold on planet Earth. So we're looking at it's ramping up, and in just a few years, we're going to sit down and have intellectual property theft, cybercrime, overwhelming every single other type of crime on the entire planet. That's how big the industry should go through. Right now, we already have our first case where somebody had ransomware on a hospital and a child died because of the ransomware process. And who knows if the people that really did it care or not. Another dead person by the time they're all dead, as long as they get their money in the process. That's kind of the compassion you have with cybercrime. But also, when we dive into who's perpetrating the cybercrime, now it's affecting citizens of a different country. That's a little bit different issue than just a common criminal. It's more a criminal sometimes from a country rather than an individual as you go through. Intellectual property, a lot of times there's people that try to sit down and they want to sit down and standardize methodologies to protect patents, trademarks, trade names, copyrights, and trade secrets. All of them are big things on intellectual property. They're that intangible aspect. So you want to have these people standardize the system. There's a rise of North Korea's hacking army. This is pulled out of the New Yorker, of all things, by Ed Caesar. This is the headline, and the headline is "The Incredible Rise of North Korea's Hacking Army." And underneath the subheadline, the country's cyber forces have raked in billions of dollars for the regime by pulling off schemes ranging from ATM heists. By the way, that's for you with an ATM down the street, maybe at your bank or credit union, to cryptocurrency theft. Can they be stopped as we go through? So now we have countries arming themselves with entire workforces that, and literally in North Korea, as part of their army, they actually have a unit of the army that goes out and hacks into different aspects of it, and they perform robbery as we go through. And this is not a matter of casual conversation, it's a matter of numerous different reviews by the FBI, and in this case over here, even the New Yorker and everything else. It is not a secret North Korea has one as you go through. Russia has military hackers, and they're targeting US and Europe as you go through. Here's a screen, and there's one of them called Fancy Bear. Okay, so the military hackers as they go through, another part of a government going through and hacking. As soon as they're confronted by it, either Russia clams up on it, or they claim, no, that's not us, except for the fact that our country is saying there's over 1,000 different investigations underway today with just Russia hacking into American systems, from government systems to private systems as you go through. It's a huge thing on planet Earth as you go through, something that international businesses need to be aware of, and then have a super solid aspect of preventing theft. Here at our college, we go through, and according to our IT department, over 90% of all the emails that we receive as a college go into the trash bin because they're nothing more than cyber aspects of somebody trying to attack in a different process in the system. If one of them ever gets through and somebody goes, oh, let me click on this link, I'll get a new lottery ticket, click. And instead of getting a $2 lottery ticket, they end up unleashing a Trojan horse inside the system that hacks a huge amount. Fortunately, we've only had a few problems, but the reality is one simple wrong click can damage an entire system as you go through. So patents, when a government grants inventor of a product or process a right to manufacture, exploit, use, or sell an invention or process, that is the law of the land. Sometimes other countries, they don't enforce laws from other lands, or they don't care, and they give a nod, wink, wink, saying, okay, go ahead. It's not America, it's not our countries, it's an American product. Go ahead, make it all you want to. And they don't really care until they get caught or called out on it. Patent trolls and pirates, they challenge the patent system. They steal things, they hack into a company, they steal it, and then they replicate the exact same system with a different name, and then often sell it, turn around and sell it back to an American corporation in the process you go through. Here's one over here of China's campaign to steal U.S. intellectual property. This is actually taken right off of the website that the Department of Justice is. Over 80% of all cases charged economic espionage involve China, and 60% of all trade cases involve China. This is off the United States Department of Justice website as you go through. It's a big issue. Here's the rest of it. What they're claiming is China's modus operandi is to steal American intellectual property, replicate it, replace the US company originating that intellectual property in the Chinese domestic market, and then come over here in the United States and displace it in the global market as you go through. This is a huge charge and being pursued vigorously by the US government at the time of this reporting. A lot of protections you go through. You'll see Switzerland by far leads the world, but you'll see a lot of them as come through as to who has strong protection rankings in the process of intellectual property on the international basis. And by the way, just because you have that in your country doesn't mean that other nations will honor it. It means that you honor it within your own nation and hopefully vigorously enforce it on the international market as you go through. Trademarks. You sit down, you come out, you spend a lot of time, a lot of thought, you come up with a trademark over here, and boom, you have the shape, color, design, phrase, abbreviation, or sound that you use to designate your thing, and it varies from country to country, and hopefully people abide by the Madrid Agreement of 1891, and I want you to know that name, the Madrid Agreement, because that really is a strong basis that's been around for really a long period of time in the aspect of wanting to make certain that we are going through on a regular basis trying to keep up with each other and not violate trademarks, and we have a uniformity as you go through that's more than 100 years old. A trademark should be reserved for the company's sole use as you go through, that you have this over here and it belongs to you. This is my trademark as a company, and it should be internationally recognized, and hopefully it is, but often it is not as you go through. Trade names also are out there. Young brands, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, their trade names owned by them, registered in multiple countries as you go through, trying to get people to prevent them from stealing their name and putting their name on a different product as you go through. Copyrights is when you sit down and write something, you music, whatever it could be. In the United States, it is as simple as you take a piece of paper and put down your name, the year of copyright, and boom, that thing is copyrighted. You can even file it with the Copyright Office, but just the fact you wrote it and put copyright in the year that you did, in our country, that is recognized as a legal copyright. In others, you have to sit down and register within their country, or they can sit down and steal it for themselves. I have a book on poems called Naked Turtle Dances. Feel free to buy it. It's on Amazon. That being said, I was going through, we're looking to decorate one of the rooms in our house, and my wife is going through looking on a website, and she sat there and she reads this poem. I'm listening to the poem, and it sounds exactly like a poem that I published on LinkedIn 3 years before. And lo and behold, now it's for sale from a company in a different country, and they're selling it and making money off my poem that's copyrighted here in the United States. So when I asked for compensation back for the poem, the word was silence. And what can I do? Nothing, because there's no agreement between our country and that country. So they get to make money off of my poem. By the way, they're making money, at least. Poem writers don't make any money generally. So at least somebody's benefiting from my writing. Cool. All right. Trade secrets. Any information the business wants to hold confidential, that could be the formula process. There are things called corporate spies. They're real. They actually exist, where they sit down there and they hack into a company and they try to steal anything from nuclear submarine prints all the way to prints for a circuit board that sit down and help them prove putting a memory chip into a vacuum cleaner. Those things really do happen, and they're all out there. Intellectual property theft, especially cybercrime, the target really is intellectual property. They steal copyrights, patents, trade secrets as you go through, and technology property theft as you go through the entire process. It's a big thing in the world today, and pay attention to it, because just because you establish a beachhead in another country doesn't mean that that they're going to respect your right to own the property that you have. You need to sit down there and vigorously enforce it in both the country of origin and also the country you're doing business in. Take care.